another Fight of the Night review. This is for the one that took place. It was the main event that took place last night at the Amway Centre in Orlando, Florida. It was between Stephen Thompson and Kevin Holland, and I'm here to break it down round by round, bit by bit, and try and remember as much as I can before wrapping up the fight. So I say, let's go. The fight begins, and there really isn't a lot of time wasted. Kevin Holland is immediately going for some really good stuff. He's going for some nice leg kicks. He's going for a good couple of body kicks, but he's mostly trying to headhunt. But as we know, Thompson is much more of a counter fighter, and he's able to counter Kevin really well with the counter to the leg kick and landing a good shot left of his own. And it sort of becomes Stephen's bread and butter, not just throughout this round, but throughout the entire fight. However, Kevin lands some big stuff pretty early on. I don't remember the first shot exactly he catches Thompson with. In fact, I don't even remember if it was a shot that sort of started the initial scrappy parts of the fight, because Kevin did accidentally clash heads with Stephen with a sort of clinch against the cage. I was trying to remember the word clinch there. And yeah, accidental clash heads cause a cut on this part of Stephen's left eye. So the blood's down here. So it's not that much of a deal breaker, but yeah. Kevin did he was able to sort of use that to his advantage in a way, and he's landing some really good shots on Stephen. Stephen is also landing some good stuff of his own. He's countering really well with his own strikes. He's using his accuracy and speed in comparison to Kevin. In comparison to Kevin using his much more powerful strikes, and Kevin is just landing the leg kicks. He's mixing it up a bit more, whereas Thompson is headhunting, and I think it does lead Kevin to some pretty good stuff. He does land the bigger shots that do start to wobble Thompson as round one goes on, and there's some really nice exchanges between the two as well, and as close as it is, with Thompson even landing some really good head kicks at points as well, I'm giving round one to Holland. I thought he just landed more, he was a lot smarter, he was able to use his defense a little bit better, he was closing the distance a bit more as well, and he was mixing up more to the body and head. And yeah, again, his defense was just on point. He was able to avoid a lot of Stephen's bigger stuff. And yeah, I give round one pretty evenly to Kevin, although very even round, and the two dudes are just having a lot of fun, smiling and stuff like that. So yeah, really good shit. We then get to round two, and much like in round one, Kevin is pressing the action a bit more readily. He's throwing a few more strikes. He's going high, he's going to the body, he's going low. He's mixing it up very well, but Stephen Thompson is using his range a little bit better. He's using his defense a bit better. Even with the cut that he sort of suffered, again, it didn't really cause too much of a problem for him. It didn't really hurt his vision at all. So yeah, he was able to really recover quite well in round two, and he was landing his shots way better. He was throwing much more kicks, able to use that really well. He threw some really good side kicks to the body. He also kept that counter going whenever Kevin tried to land the leg kick. He kept going for Kevin kept going for the leg kick. Stephen kept countering with the left hand. I don't know why I looked over there at the match card on Wikipedia. I don't really know why I did that. But yeah, Stephen is countering way better. His strikes are a bit more fluid. He's landing a little bit more. There is kind of a knockdown in the round near the end of it, though, from what I remember, because Kevin does land a pretty big strike on Stephen, but Stephen more wobbles from it. He more stumbles. He still hit pretty hard, but yeah, I don't think he was ever fully knocked down in an earlier round. But yeah, Stephen is, again, he recovers really quickly from that. He's able to sort of counter some of the stuff that Kevin throws at him. Kevin does kind of get a takedown as well, but it's more just a scramble thing from the clinch, and he doesn't really instigate the takedown or try and trip or anything, which is weird because Kevin is the better wrestler between him and Stephen. So you would think he would go for it a little bit more, but at the moment he sort of has Stephen on his back, he immediately gets up so the fight can go back to standing, and at that point Stephen is winning a little bit more. And round two, even though I didn't describe the action as well, still had a lot of great action. Stephen was landing big shots, landed a really good right hand at one point, landed a beautiful liver kick. I don't remember which round it was in round 2, 3 or 4, but landed a great liver kick. Kevin landed some really good stuff too. This round was probably the most even of the entire fight, and I am edging slightly in favour of Stephen. I just think he was improving as the fight went along. As the round went along, rather, he was able to counter really well, and again, he recovered quite well despite the cut he suffered. So yeah, I think he did a pretty good job, and he was putting his strikes together a lot better in round 2 than he was in round 1. Next we go to round 3, and it is not looking great for Kevin from the offset. He's starting to slow down a little bit in round 3. Stephen's landing much bigger shots. He's landing, he lands a body kick really early on that really offset Kevin. He's throwing his own leg kicks at Stephen as well. Kevin's still throwing really good shots. In round 2, he was throwing a bit wilder. In round 3, he's a little bit more controlled, but again, he's a bit slower, and Stephen is pushing the action again. But there is a moment, a very significant one, about halfway through round 3, where Stephen lands a spinning wheel kick, which Kevin, to his credit, he's got really good defense. He rolls his shoulders a lot to get out of the way, and he has his arms up. But one of the spinning kicks that Stephen lands really badly hits Kevin's arm, and I think it was sort of offsetting something in round 2 where Stephen landed a counter left that did catch, I think it was round 1 actually, but he landed a counter left that did catch Kevin's hand. Kevin's hand was still fine after that, but after the wheel kick in round 3, yeah, it was definitely a lot worse. His arm was like sort of barely held up to his side. He was using his fingers, he was wiggling them to prove that it was mostly alright. But yeah, Stephen definitely wins round 3. I think he was just landing a lot cleaner. Kevin was still landing some really good shots, and again got sort of a kind of takedown, but again they stood up immediately after because Kevin wants to keep the fight standing and keep it entertaining, and entertaining it would be as well, spoiler alert. But yeah, round 3, Thompson just landing a lot better. He is caught with some pretty heavy stuff though. I think Kevin does land a really good shot on him, and again, much like in round 2, Kevin did keep Stephen against the cage with a good clinch, landed some elbows, landed some counter knees when he was on the back foot against the cage. I forgot to mention that as well, that happened in round 2, and I think a bit in round 1 as well, when they were clinching. Kevin was landing some really good knees. But yeah, round 3, even despite that, even despite Stephen getting hit pretty badly, and I think there was a clash of heads in round 3 as well, that caused, no actually it was, I think it was going into round 4. It was round 3 or 4, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I'll talk about it more soon. But yeah, round 3, definitely more in favour of Stephen. He was landing, again, just much more fluid strikes, going up top a lot more, mixing up way more than he was in the first 2 rounds. So yeah, Kevin still was standing with him, and Kevin was obviously hampered by his right arm being essentially broken because of the wheel kick, but he was able to keep going for another round, and we'll see soon whether or not that was a good decision. And we get to the 4th round and the last round of the fight, and spoiler alert, it wasn't a good decision because Kevin could barely move his arm throughout the entire round. Stephen's just like, he's got him against the cage a lot, he's countering, he's landing some really good shots, landing really good combos, landing more hooks than I'm used to seeing Stephen do. And when he lands his big stuff, Kevin does try and go for a takedown a couple of times, it doesn't work. Then there's a moment, this is where the fight sort of breaks a little bit apart for me. So Kevin and Stephen has Kevin against the cage sort of, and he throws a shot to the belt line, right? And it looks like he was trying to go for a punch to Kevin's, like, more to the stomach, but it hit around the belt line, and that's a perfectly fine place to hit. But Kevin used this as an excuse and claimed he was hitting the balls, and he absolutely wasn't. I don't agree with that. I think there was another clash of heads at that point though, where Kevin accidentally caused a cut around the bridge of Stephen's nose, and that caused the blood to pour down quite frequently as a result. But yeah, Kevin basically took the time to get more of a break. He didn't use the 45 minutes, he used about an hour and 16, I think. Sorry, not an hour and 16, a minute and 16. God, an hour long break. God damn, the fans would have left. It was the main event too. That wouldn't have worked. But yeah, Kevin does recover quite well from the fake knock shot. But yeah, round 4, Stephen's just playing with Kevin against the cage, landing amazing leg kicks, so many great head kicks as well. He lands a great switch kick a couple of times throughout the fight. Just punches as well. Doesn't really spend a lot of time trying to finish him until about 18 seconds in. He throws a really good combat that does knock down Kevin, the first actual legit knockdown of the entire fight. And he sort of gets on the ground again, but he decides to get back standing with 4 seconds left. And then the round ends, and then as both fighters go back to the corners, Kevin's corner calls the fight because Kevin's arm is completely buggered. His right hand cannot move. He's barely feeling it. It's a corner stoppage via TKO. So let's talk about it. All in all, while I didn't cover the fight too well, I mean, are you expecting a level of professionalism from me? I mean, you should know better by now. I thought this fight was extremely entertaining, mostly just because it was just 2 dudes who love doing this shit, and they're doing this shit really well, Stephen Thompson, one of the most likeable guys, and underratedly funny as well is Stephen Thompson when he wants to be. Kevin Holland talks a lot during fights, provides his own commentary, and he was funny as well, but more than that, he proved how tough he was, although I think he should have called the fight off at the end of round 3, because his arm was already badly damaged. Another 5 minutes added to that did not make it any better at all, and I think it was the right call for his corner to step in, but I think Kevin should have maybe called it sooner. I didn't like how round 4 played out because of, again, another accidental clash of heads, and the nut shot that wasn't actually a nut shot. That I didn't agree with. But I thought the fight was still extremely entertaining, and mad respect to Kevin for carrying on for an extra 5 minutes after the fact as well. Well, not after the fact, like before the fact. You know, that would lead to the fact being him losing. It was just good shit, though. It was a really fun fight. I don't know if it will be in my top 10 because of how the last round played out. But the first 3 rounds were extremely entertaining. And again, you should absolutely go and find this fight for yourself. It is a lot of fun. And it's nice to see two dudes who love this just doing it because they love it, you know. And I like Stephen Thompson a lot. Kevin Holland has grown on me recently, so yeah, this is just really good stuff. So go and seek it out for yourself. It's got good shit. As for what's next from me, Go Home Show. Tuesday night, PVW vs AVW. And along the way, I'm going to be hopefully designing the arena for Deck the Brawls, and also designing a new attire for Deanna Crow. It's going to be a good one because I'm basing off something really freaking cool. So I'll see you all, well, not for the attire thing, but I'll see you all on Tuesday night. Sound good? So yeah, that's the next thing. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.